If you want to improve your pronunciation in Spanish so that others can understand you better, this video is for you. Don't go away. Hola, and welcome to Spanish with El Güero. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, well, subscribe so that you don't miss any classes. And also, while you're at it, why don't you give this video a like? Today, we're going to help you to improve your pronunciation in Spanish. And we're going to start with the consonant sounds. A lot of the consonants in English and Spanish are pronounced the same, but that gives people the wrong idea. A lot of English speakers, when they start learning Spanish, have the idea in their head that all of the consonants are pronounced the same. They are not. There are several consonants that are not pronounced the same in Spanish and in English. And so today we're going to learn about those ones. The ones we're not going to worry about are the ones that are pronounced exactly the same. The B, the C, the F, the K, the M, the N, the P, the S, the T, and the W. These consonants are pronounced exactly the same in English and Spanish, so you don't have to worry about those ones. You don't have to learn any new sounds. The rest of the consonants are not pronounced the same. The D, the G, the H, the J, the L, the Q, the R, the V, the X, the Y, and the Z are not pronounced the same in English and Spanish. And Spanish also has an additional consonant, the ñ, and we'll learn how to pronounce that one too. Before we get started, something you need to understand is that Spanish is an almost completely phonetic language. What that means is that there is only one sound for most of the letters, and for others, maybe two. And words in Spanish are spelled exactly as they are pronounced. So all you have to do is learn how each letter is pronounced, and then you will automatically know how to pronounce almost every word in Spanish. So let's start with the D. The D is pronounced the same in Spanish and English, at least sometimes, because in Spanish, the D has two sounds. It has the sound of the D in English, d, 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 but it also has the sound of the TH in English. In some instances, the D is pronounced the. When the D comes at the beginning of a word, it's pronounced like the D in English, d, d. Like in the name David, David. That's David in Spanish, David. Or in the word dedo. Dedo means finger, dedo. That D at the beginning is pronounced like the D in English, David, dedo. But if it's not at the beginning of the word, the D in Spanish is like a TH in English, such as in that same name. The first D is a D, like the D in English, but the second D is a TH, David, David, David. Also in the word dedo, the first D is that hard D, like in English, but the second D is like TH, dedo, dedo, dedo. Also in the words video, video. It's not video, it's video, video. Or in ciudad, city, ciudad. It is not ciudad, it is ciudad, ciudad. Both of the D's are like a TH, ciudad. So remember, the D in Spanish has two sounds. It has the hard D sound, like in English, when it comes at the beginning of a word, and it has the TH sound in all other cases. The G in Spanish has two sounds as well, just like it does in English. In English, we have the hard G sound, g, g, and the soft G sound, j, j. In Spanish, we also have a hard G sound and a soft G sound. The hard G sound is the same as it is in English, g, g, as in gato, gato, gusto, gusto. Here we have the hard G sound. The soft G sound in Spanish is not the same as the soft G sound in English. Instead of j, it's just like the H in English, as in gigante, gigante, and genio, genio. But when is the G hard and when is it soft in Spanish? The rule is similar to the rule in English. You may not know the rule in English because you just speak it without thinking, but it's a very similar rule. When the G comes before an E or an I in Spanish, it is soft. That's why it is soft in gigante and in genio, because it comes before I and E respectively in those words. If it comes before anything else, it is hard, like in gato and gusto, because in these words, it does not come before I or E. And in the word gigante, we have both. We have a G that comes before an I, so it's soft, and a G that comes before an A, so it's hard. Gigante, gigante. Now, there are a few other rules we need to understand about the G. Because what if we want to have a hard G sound before an E or an I? In that case, we have to write G-U-E or G-U-I, as in guerra, guerra, or guitarra, guitarra. When we see the combination G-U-E or G-U-I, the U is silent, and we pronounce a hard G before an E or an I. Guerra, guitarra. But what if we need to pronounce that U that comes between the G and the E or the G and the I? There are some words in Spanish that have that combination, gue or gui. In that case, we put two dots above the U. When you see G-U-E or G-U-I with two dots above the U, it means we pronounce the U, as in bilingue, bilingue, linguista, linguista. In these two words, we pronounce the U because it has those two dots. But if you see G-U-E or G-U-I without the dots, you don't pronounce the U. So the G is a little bit complicated because we have those two sounds that we need to differentiate between. And we also need to be able to write words that have a hard G sound before an E or an I, and also words that have a pronounced U between G-E or G-I. That is why we have these kind of complicated rules for the G. The G really is the most complicated letter in Spanish, but it only has two sounds. Now, what about the H? The H is an interesting letter in Spanish because it appears in a lot of words. A lot of words are spelled with H, but the H is always silent. So then why do we write it? Because anciently it used to be pronounced, but over the centuries it lost its pronunciation. And the words are still written that way, but it is not pronounced. So for example, in hora, hora, hijo, hijo, vehículo, vehículo. You can see in these words that we do not pronounce the H. We never pronounce the H in Spanish. It is always silent. In Spanish, it's actually the J that is pronounced like the H in English. The J in Spanish is not pronounced J as it is in English. It is pronounced like the H in English, also like the soft G in Spanish. For example, jugo, jugo, ejemplo, ejemplo, jueves, jueves. The J is always pronounced this way in Spanish. Now, what about the L? A lot of people who learn Spanish have the wrong impression in their head that the L is pronounced the same in English and Spanish, because a lot of Spanish teachers never really tell you that it's different. The difference isn't really pronounced, but it is different, and the difference is important. To pronounce the L in Spanish, you put your tongue in the same position as if you were going to pronounce an L in English. So then what's the difference? The difference is that you make your tongue tense. In English, your tongue is relaxed as you pronounce the L. In Spanish, it is tense. So for example, in ladrón, ladrón, it is not ladrón. I don't know if you heard the difference there. Ladrón, that would be a relaxed L as in English. Ladrón, that's a tense L as it's pronounced in Spanish. So it is not ladrón, it is ladrón. Alma, alma. You don't pronounce it alma, it is alma. Put your tongue up to the roof of your mouth as you do it in English, but make your tongue tense. Al, alma, alma. It's not all, alma. It's alma. Metal, metal. It is not metal. No, it's metal. Put your tongue up there to the roof of your mouth and make it tense. Metal. So remember, you put your tongue in the same position in Spanish to pronounce the L, but your tongue needs to be tense. Ladrón, alma, metal. The last consonant that we're going to learn how to pronounce today is the ñ. This is the only one that doesn't exist in English. Spanish has an additional consonant, ñ, and you write it like an N with a little squiggly line over it, ñ. Now, a lot of people also have the wrong concept of how the ñ is pronounced, and they pronounce it as if it was just an N followed by an I. And so, for example, in words like niño, they say niño, but it is not niño because that's not how you pronounce it. You pronounce the ñ by putting the back of your tongue to the roof of your mouth. When you pronounce the N, you put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth. But when you pronounce the ñ, you put the back of your tongue on the roof of your mouth. Ñe. So it is not niño, it is niño. Niño. Mañana. It is not mañana, it is mañana. Sueño. It is not sueño, it is sueño. You might say, but that sounds almost exactly the same. Well, it doesn't sound almost exactly the same for native Spanish speakers. Those are two different sounds, the N followed by an I and the ñ. So today we have learned how to pronounce the D, the G, the H, the J, the L, and the ñ in Spanish. We will learn the pronunciation of the other consonants in the next class. What I want you to do now is look up words that have each of these sounds, listen to them, and then try to repeat them, pronouncing those consonants correctly. This is the best exercise to improve your pronunciation. Listen to a native speaker saying the word, then repeat the word. You can go to an online dictionary and look up these words and listen to them. Almost all online dictionaries have a little speaker icon where you can click and listen to the pronunciation of the words. Listen to the pronunciation of the word, repeat the word, and record yourself as you repeat it. Then listen again to the correct pronunciation, listen to your pronunciation, compare them, and then keep repeating that process until your pronunciation is more like the correct pronunciation. It's not important for you to have a perfect pronunciation in Spanish. That is almost impossible for a non-native speaker. But it is important for you to have a good pronunciation. Because if you have a terrible pronunciation, even if you know all the grammar and you can put your sentences together perfectly, nobody will understand you because your pronunciation is terrible. Most English speakers who learn Spanish are quite lazy with their pronunciation, and many of them don't seem to care to improve it. You need to be trying to improve your pronunciation all the time, not just learning more vocabulary and phrases, not just learning more grammar. You need to be working on your pronunciation constantly. And that's our class for today. Leave a comment about which of these sounds is the hardest for you. I hope this class was useful to you and that you enjoyed it. Remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you still haven't subscribed so that you don't miss any classes. See you next time.